Well, welcome and thank you for joining us today for this webinar on the Mission Ready Package. I'm Angela Koppel, the EMAC Coordinator at the National Emergency Management Association. We're joined today by Jennifer Perkins. Jennifer and I will be answering your questions throughout the webinar. My pleasure to introduce Mr. Leon Shaifer. Leon will be leading you through the webinar today. Leon has been involved in EMAC since the inception of the compact. After Leon's retirement from the Mississippi State Emergency Management Agency, Leon joined NEMA as the EMAC Senior Advisor. I can attest that Leon is the most knowledgeable person in the world on the subject of EMAC. Thank you again to Leon for leading us through this webinar today. I'll now turn the webinar over to Leon. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela, and good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be launching our campaign to encourage the nationwide creation and use of this Mission Ready Package concept and technology. We will be using this webinar to introduce you to the latest tool designed by the NEMA staff to facilitate the Mission Ready Package development by EMAC and used by EMAC resource providers. A good mutual aid partner should recognize and package their resources in such order that they can be readily identified, easily deployed, and better utilized. The MRP and the accompanying cost estimation tool that you're about to see today will offer resource providers such as yourselves this distinct advantage. Earlier versions of this methodology were used to design this updated and enhanced product. So let's begin by looking at what we expect to achieve today. We want to gain an understanding of the value of the Mission Ready Package, the concept and the application. Be able to develop Mission Ready packages using the tools that were specifically created for this purpose. We certainly want to understand and apply the cost estimation methodology in order to obtain reliable results. And lastly, to understand how credentialing relates to the Mission Ready Package. By definition, we refer to a Mission Ready Package as a specific response and recovery resource capability that is organized, developed, trained, and exercised prior to an emergency or disaster. The MRPs ensure that rapid identification, availability, ordering resources, and deploying those resources when requested is greatly facilitated. MRPs are, in our estimation, the next logical step following resource typing initiatives and are based in large part on the typing definition and pre-planning assessments, as you will see in a moment. MRPs must be developed in coordination and cooperation with all appropriate agencies. And of course, the outcomes of this process should be shared with your state emergency management agency. MRPs are based on the NIMS resource typing initiative. By definition, resource typing is categorizing by capability the resources requested, deployed, and used in all incidences. Measurable standards identifying resource capabilities and performance levels serve as the basis for categories. Resource users at all levels use these standards to identify and inventory their resources. As you may know, to find a particular resource on the NIMS site that has been typed according to NIMS standards, you simply go to the NIMS Resource Management website using the link that we've shown here at the top of this slide. You click on the resource typing and select the desired discipline from the Tier 1 resource typing list. Let's say, for example, you wanted to view the incident management team typing scheme. You click on the incident management group, and it will lead you to that definition for the incident management team. Now, as you can see here, these elements, category, kind, component, metric, and type, are found in the resource typing definition. You will also see in just a moment that these same elements mirror those elements that are found in the Mission Ready Package template that we're about to launch. If the elements in the NIMS resource typing definition are similar to the elements in the desired MRP that you're wanting to develop, then simply use these NIMS elements without having to duplicate or recreate. Let me point out that an MRP may be comprised of multiple typing schemes Now, if this happens, just simply skip this section of the MRP template and enter this data down in the detailed resource description field, which is found in section 8 of our MRP template. Now then, by comparison, to download an MRP from the EMAC website, go to www.emacweb.org. And remember, you do not need a password to access this feature on the EMAC website. Now, under the Mutual Aid Resources tab, located at the top of the homepage, click on the Mission Ready Packages. That link in that drop-down box will lead you to the Mission Ready Package templates at the bottom. Please note that there are also 114 different model disaster resource packages available on this particular site that will enable you to build your own resource capabilities. Now then, you select and download the EMAC Mission Ready package with the cost estimation template to your computer by clicking on that particular section. You download it and you're set to go. The beauty of this system is it's been created as an Excel file, and cost estimate forms for each of the 5 cost factors, including travel, personnel, equipment, commodities, and other costs, are integrated into this Excel workbook. Therefore, transfer the cost figures when they are entered into each appropriate field in these individual worksheets are automatically populated in the Mission Ready Package worksheet. The MRP also provides additional fields for capturing very important information that is relative and relevant as far as Mission Ready packaging performance is concerned. Other sections of the form include that particular area that we spoke about a moment ago. It gives you an opportunity to mirror the NIMS type resources if it's applicable. There's also a section that will allow you to prescript a mission statement to identify exactly what the capability is. You can also list limitations that might hamper or inhibit or prevent, in other words, the maximum performance by a particular resource. But you can identify and list what those limitations may be up front. It also shows an area there for logistic support that may be required from other sources that will help enable that mission-ready package to perform more adequately. It establishes a footprint that's required by that particular resource when it's deployed. And it also gives you a time to readiness, an anticipated time that is required by that resource to be deployed once it's been notified, and the cost estimated for that particular package to perform its designated mission. Now, this gives you a look at the worksheet of the Mission Ready package. The template for the MRP is comprised of 20 various sections, 20 different elements of information to be inputted. This slide is configured this way that you're seeing now in order to illustrate the entire worksheet on this one slide. Now, let's briefly look at each particular section of the MRP worksheet. The first section is where you list what the title of the Mission Ready package is. In this case, we're using an example of a Public Assistance Coordinator, or a PAC. Here is sections 2, 3, and 4, which give you adequate space to fill in the name, the agency, the resource provider, and the contact information for that person who is in control of that particular resource in terms of being able to notify or access that resource in time of need. Section 5 also gives you an opportunity to put in the components and certain metrics of that particular resource. In this case, it's personnel, and the metrics involve capability of representing FEMA and officiating at public meetings and managing project officers and other support staff in the public assistance program. Number 6, section 6, deals with the identity of emergency support functions that this particular mission-ready package would support. In this case, you can see that they anticipate interfacing with all 13 ESS in this particular assigned task in order to help them write project worksheets at their eligible cost of the public assistance program. In section 7, we look at mission capabilities. Here is an opportunity to narratively state in very succinct terms what the expected capability of that mission is. What does it do, and what are the skill sets associated with that function? Here you can see that it's very detailed in what that mission capability is. We look over at number 8, and we see a detailed resource description. Now remember a moment ago I said if you had areas of multi-typing involved, you could go down to this particular section and be a little bit more detailed in the narrative of what that resource description is. And here again you can see that it's pretty detailed and tells you what it's capable of doing. Now, I would suggest to you that the information that you would find, especially if you're looking for a resource that has been developed or you're wanting to call up a resource if you are an affected state, that you could look at Section 7 and Section 8 together and pretty much have it identify the type of resource that you would be requesting from your other member states through the EMAC system. It would greatly facilitate how resources are requested by, and provided, I might add, by an EMAC member state. Now, Section 10 identifies the size of the footprint that would be required or expected to be utilized or taken up by that MRP. In this case, it's very, very small. You're looking at a 2-person capability here, so it's not requiring a lot of space. Section 11 would list any factors that may limit the performance of that MRP. Here it's stated that they pre-identify that not having first-hand knowledge of the impacted disaster area would be a limiting factor. And I think that would pretty much be fairly standard for something of this type. Section number 12, identifies logistical support that would be required during the MRP development. Here they're saying they would need electricity, internet access, lodging, along with that footprint in order for them to function adequately. Now this is an appropriate place, I think, to show you an added feature of this particular form. In section number 13, we have a deployment timeline. It's what we refer to as the N+ factor. N meaning notification, and the time that you see here, in this case, the number 12, implies the number of hours that would be necessary for that resource to be mobilized from the time that they were initially notified. But here's an important feature about this form, too, that's built in. Let me move my cursor over here where you can see it, and you will watch on the right-hand side of the screen, we can point out little areas that have a red hash mark in the corner of these particular gray boxes. Now this feature, this red marker, in any of these fields where you see this within this workbook, it means that there is a help note that is embedded there to help you out to understand what the intent is of that particular section or the type of information you need to put in there. You simply place your cursor on that little red line and you click it to read the help note. As you can see, if you did not understand what I stated a moment ago as in definition of the N factor, you can look at it here and it states for you that you list the estimated timeline for deployment of a resource from the time the notification to be ready to mobilize. And we list it in this particular section as N plus the hour. And you will find these little help notes embedded throughout this document in this template to help you. Okay, now we want to show you the various areas where cost can be estimated within the worksheet. In section number 14, entitled Travel, this is an area here that captures all expected travel expenses that might be associated with this particular package. Now, you click on the document. If you try to go in and enter anything in any area that is a non-white section, a gray section, for example, you will not be able to input data on it. You can only input data where there is a white section. Anything else is locked. Now, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's go up here and say we wanted to, this document came in blank and you wanted to fill it in there and you wanted to go in and put some data in there. What would happen is, as soon as you clicked on that that particular field, it would give you an error message. And that error message would tell you that it's a locked cell and you cannot get in there. It's password protected. Now, however, there's another helpmate here. Let me go back here and show you what it is. In each one of these areas, you will see a little line that is colored in a yellow or different color that stands out. It says, enter all travel cost details under the travel tab in the worksheet. Now that is a reminder that's placed there that will tell you when you get to this particular form on the Mission Ready Package template that at the bottom of that workbook there is a tab for each one of these worksheets. To go in where you can enter data, you simply go on the travel tab and click on that travel tab and it will take you back to the page behind the travel tab where you can enter the data on there. Now some of you are probably wondering at this point, well, how can I possibly estimate travel cost before I know where the MRP might be deployed to? Well, the answer to that is quite simple. You can't. But you can quickly calculate what these travel costs are once you know where that deployment site is and when it's been identified at the time that your assistance is being requested. However, remember this, by estimating all the other costs of the other four factors, personnel, commodities, equipment, and other in advance, will certainly expedite updating that cost estimation worksheet whenever your assistance is being requested. And two, it's very helpful to know that once the data is entered here in these categories, it is automatically populated to the total travel costs section appropriately back in that Mission Ready Package tab. Now this is the Personnel tab, and you will find that it shows where you can enter all the data regarding the personnel that has been assigned to this particular resource. Now you may find again that if you click on something at this particular area, it's going to give you that error box. So you want to be sure that you follow the yellow brick road back to the tab located at the bottom of the page, and it will take you back over to the area where you want to enter your personnel data. Now there's also some very interesting things that I want to point out here that are not populated from that particular personnel worksheet, but must be populated here at the Mission Ready Package worksheet page. And that has to do with areas that you see in the light blue area. If you wanted to list personnel by type, wherever applicable, as you see here, or identify the minimum licenses or certifications that are carried by personnel on a mission, as you see here, they must be entered at this particular page within the Mission Ready Package worksheet and not back behind the personnel worksheet. Now on the personnel worksheet, you'll see every possible category, every possible column for entering any costs associated with deploying personnel. Now when completed, the totals of this worksheet are also populated back on the section 15 of that Mission Ready worksheet. Now there are enough pages behind this tab to be able to list 187 people's names. Now most Mission Ready packages won't nearly require this number of people to be assigned to them. So how can you prevent having to print out additional blank pages when you have only 2 names, for example, as in this example, that are here? Well, you remember that little red indicator we talked about? Let's look up there on line 8 and click on that little indicator and see what sort of help we'll get here. And there's our information box. And it will tell you that in order to prevent blank pages coming out once you go to the print function, prior to printing you may wish to reformat your print area on this worksheet to save printing blank pages. And that function can be found under the page layout using the print area. Okay, now let's back to the MRP worksheet and looking at section 16 that deals with equipment. Remember again, we follow the yellow brick road. At the bottom of the tab there, we click on the appropriate tab for equipment, and we go to equipment. Now you have here the flexibility to calculate equipment rates at either hourly rates or at a fixed mission rate, if it's applicable in your particular situation, or if it applies to this particular mission resource. Most costs are probably going to be estimated at an hourly rate. However, in the past, we have found that some resource providers have chosen to apply a fixed rate for equipment regardless of the length of deployment. It's a fixed rate whether it's for 1 week or 2 weeks. In either case, these totals will be populated in Section 16, again, back on that MRP worksheet. That's from data that's been applied back on this specific equipment worksheet. Now let's look at commodities. Here again, you follow the yellow brick road, and to be able to list what type of commodities that you're wanting to apply to this particular package. Now, commodities are those expendable items or consumable type of resources, such as office supplies, sundries, water, ice, snacks, fuel, and essentially other one-time use items that are needed or utilized by this commodity, by this package. And here's an opportunity you put down what those particular commodities may be, a description of them and what the costs are and the quantity to be used, and then you generate the total cost for that particular item. Here again, any particular item that you have here, priced on this worksheet, and the total estimated cost will be populated from this worksheet back to Section 17 of the main Mission Ready Package worksheet. Now we look at the other cost. And the other cost is that catch-all, that grab bag that includes anything that you would not find an applicable category for, or that would not fall under either equipment as a non-expendable resource or a commodity as an expendable resource. These examples may include such things like mobile phone fees, laundry costs, decontamination of equipment in some cases, in some instances, and also maybe vaccination or inoculation costs, depending again on the environment where your personnel may be deployed into. It could also include equipment rental cost and other types of costs not otherwise specified within the workshop. A description of others are listed here, and these costs may be entered by either using a quantity or fixed rate or a daily rate, if that daily rate is known, and whatever is applicable to this particular resource. But here again, the totals of this worksheet are populated back on Section 18 in the appropriate place there under the other category in the MRP worksheet. And then the totals from all the individual cost worksheets are somehow mysteriously populated in the total mission cost here shown in Section 20, which is the last section of the MRP template. Remember to calculate travel cost once that deployment site becomes known, because it will not be known until you get a request to deploy that resource somewhere. However, you can, and there is a need to review at this time when you're calculating travel costs, once that site is known, to go back and look at your existing estimated costs that you have for personnel, equipment, commodities, and other costs to ensure that accuracy of these amounts are still valid from what you previously estimated. There could be a situation where personnel that you had listed here have migrated to another source of employment. They may have retired, or they may be sick or on vacation or personal leave and unable to deploy with that resource at the time they're being requested. So there's always a need to go back. Even though you do this in a preparedness phase or in a quiet time, it's always appropriate to go back and look and make sure that you have accurate information at the time that you are responding to a request, especially when you're going to be providing assistance using this system. Let's see, what else we need to talk about here on this particular page. All right, let's just go over here to this next section here, and it shows you that the estimated daily cost for personnel and equipment and commodities and all the other categories and travel costs that cannot be estimated until the deployment is known is shown here. If the daily costs are computed, you must enter that number of mission days. Now, this is very important because at the time that you're doing this, you have no idea how long they're going to be deployed, especially if you're using a daily rate. It's going to be important that you enter in the number of mission days applicable to each particular mission at the appropriate cost sheet in order to properly calculate that daily rate. And that daily rate calculation will be populated automatically over into Section 19. Now then, I think at this point that you would surely agree with me that by embracing the mission-ready concept and taking the time to establish good cost estimates up front will definitely result in compiling a well-documented reimbursement package after that mission has been demobilized and stood down. Now let's take a look for a moment and shift our attention over to the credentialing piece of the mission-ready package. Credentialing, if I may use NIMS parlance, is the process of identifying, evaluating, and documenting the knowledge, skills, and abilities of personnel. Now, EMAC is only a system used to move mutual aid assets across state boundaries. And as such, they are not subject, or it is not subject, to NIMS compliance requirements. On the other hand, EMAC member states are subject to NIMS requirements. Therefore, our state and local government resource providers and stakeholders are individually responsible for ensuring that personnel who are deployed through the EMAC system have the necessary knowledge, skills, and abilities that are required for them to perform their assigned jobs. Now, these forms of identification that we're about to discuss now are viewed by the EMAC system, or within the EMAC system, as acceptable or being acceptable credentials when personnel are deployed through the EMAC system. The passport, the agency-issued identification card, which most of you are carrying, it's a government ID, state-issued identification, a driver's license containing your photo ID, and lastly, the EMAC Mission Order Authorization Form, or the Rec A. These forms of government-issued photo identification will allow EMAC deployed personnel facility access. It identifies who they are, and the mission order, the EMAC mission order authorization form, serves as the acknowledgement by the resource provider who is providing that asset to an affected state that the individuals holding that mission order are knowledge, skilled, and have the capabilities to perform that mission as described in that mission order. Now, let's quickly summarize what we've discussed this morning or this afternoon's webinar. We've learned that mission-ready packages include mission statements, what that resource is expected and capable of doing. It lists limitations that may be impediments to them performing at a maximum capability. It also lists logistical support requirements that may be needed by other entities to help them perform at a maximum capability. It identifies and establishes the footprint required for that resource to operate. And more importantly, it includes the estimated cost necessary to make response and recovery capabilities more readily identifiable, more easily deployable, and more effectively utilized. Now, we've discussed how resource providers have the sole responsibility for providing quality personnel who meet their position's standards. And recall, as EMAC as a system can only try to develop its capabilities to help our member states meet those obligations. We've demonstrated, I think, how resource providers, such as yourselves, can readily find and use examples and templates that are available on the EMAC website in order for you to develop appropriate, useful, mission-ready packages and corresponding cost estimates. And finally, we have demonstrated how developing and maintaining a mission-ready package capability with these accurate cost estimates will definitely result in you having a more effective deployment and facilitating the reimbursement process. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You have stated during numerous after-action reviews following major disasters that we've been involved with in reviewing the EMAC system that you, as member state members, need more tools in your EMAC toolbox. Well, NEMA has heard you and has responded. I want to say that without the untiring efforts and the energies of Angela Koppel and Jennifer Perkins, that NEMA has created this useful and capable tool that will help you build and sustain these capabilities. But now the onus is on you. It's on you, our member states and resource owners, to take this tool, to use it, to begin building your MRP inventories now before the next big one strikes. I want to thank you for allowing me to present this new tool to you today and for joining and being with us. And unless there are any questions, Angela, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much for joining us.